So here, what we're going to talk about next is what you can do at a chapter level to raise the consciousness surrounding the 4 C's. And I just want to mention that this is right now a theory, right? And so with your help and with rolling out pilots in various areas around the world, we can come back with more precision when it comes to these 4 C's. But I want to ask you this. Imagine you knew exactly how others perceived you. Imagine knowing exactly where you're weak and where you're strong when it comes to these 4 C's. For example, if you had a low clarity score, then you would know what to work on, your communication. If you had high credibility, you would actually know what to stop working on, which is to stop trying to prove yourself because people already trust you. So would you guys like to know how you can get a scorecard from other members and know where you stand when it comes to the 4 C's? I hope the answer is yes. Here is a dummy one I created, but this is exactly what we rolled out in Abu Dhabi here. Here's the members' names on the left, okay? And let's look at Adam Horton, for example. He scored 9939, credibility, competence, clarity, and connectivity. So you can see where he needs to work on, right? People trust him. They trust he's good at his job. They perceive him as being well connected, but they don't know what the hell he's doing. They don't know what to do to open doors for him. So he needs to work on his clarity. For Eileen, her credibility is 2, her competence is 2, her clarity is 3, and her connectivity is 1. Why do you think that would be? If you guessed that she's a new member, you're absolutely right. So people don't really know her. There may have been one member that rated her as a 9 or a 10 because that's probably the member that sponsored her. But everyone else doesn't even know her. So you can't expect credibility, competence, and the other scores to be high. Clarity, I put the highest because maybe as a visitor she spoke one time and kind of people knew what she was all about. Let's look at Barbara Blue Jay. She scores 9993. Highly credible, highly competent, really clear communicator in terms of what we need to do to sell her as members, but perceived connectivity is low, which means she's probably not bringing a lot of visitors. She's probably not, referring with any high level or high consistency. So this is the 4 C's assessment, and like I said, it's a theory. We've rolled it out in Abu Dhabi. Dubai and Qatar are very serious, and the executive director, national director, have heard about it. There's some areas in the US that we've had some talk. Cindy, thank you so much for jumping all over this, and I really hope it adds value to your members. Just so you guys know, Cindy did not hesitate. She's like, I'm not waiting until 2019. I want to get this to my members. So that's so commendable. So if you guys are interested in how to roll it out in terms of the steps, here's what I would do first. Number 1, get the buy-in from the leadership team. Determine the when. Maybe it's when you change new leadership, in April will be the next leadership team change. You want to determine the length in terms of how much time you want to allocate for this. It takes about, I've estimated 10 minutes to do this for 20 people, chapter 20. You want to also determine who's going to analyze the data. Is it going to be the LT, the DC, the ED? We did it at a regional level. And then you want to provide each member with a score for each C. You don't want to give the member like a score of 34, for example, if they scored 9 across the board. You want to actually, you want to give them a score for each C. The total doesn't really matter much. Unless you're scoring 10 or 0, it's not going to matter. You need to know which is the weakest C so you know what to work on. Of course, which are the strong C's that you don't have to. Here's some of the challenges. Now, there was a question about how do you know, how do you judge someone's level of credibility? This, I've spoken to someone who's very, very well respected when it comes to statistics. He works at a hospital. And the question was, is my 7, let's say 7 out of 10 in terms of clarity, the same as Cindy's 7 out of 10 when it comes to you? That's the real question. So really, to get this right, what you need to do, and I've already started doing this. In fact, I've done it for all 4 C's, but I'm just getting some information from people I respect in terms of accuracy and validity. The question is, okay, so let's say for credibility we have 11 possible scores, right? We have a 0, and then we have 1 to 10. So what is a 10 in credibility? It would be something like, I trust this person with my children. or with my most valuable possessions. A 9 would be I trust this person with my wallet. 8 with my car keys. 7 with a few $100s, and that kind of thing. 2 is I have serious reservations about this person. 1 is I don't trust this person, or I trust them very, very, very little. And 0 is my trust has been broken. So that's what we kind of have to determine beforehand. But I still think, even without doing that, because then we run into timing problems in terms of like how can we get this done in a reasonable time, especially with, for example, the largest chapter in the world in Surat, India, with 144 members. That's going to take a while. So I think if you come back with a score of 7 to 10 on credibility, it's pretty consistent. Even though my 7 may be your 8, or your 9 may be my 7. So you know what I mean? So I think ballpark, you're still going to know that kind of where you stand in the eyes of members. And as we roll this out, we'll hopefully have some more details that we can put into the process to make it more accurate. The other thing you want to determine is not only duration, but frequency. Do you want to do this every quarter? Do you want to do it biannually, twice a year, monthly? Just you got to kind of figure out, depending on chapter size and depending on the results you're getting, how often you want to do it. At the very most, what we're hoping is that this is going to be an indicator for you of your referrals. Thank you for closed business, and of course these key KPIs that we have in BNI. But it also not only should predict it, but you should be able to move the needle in these areas. Like say, you know what? As soon as I worked on my credibility and my connectivity, or my clarity, my numbers started changing. My performance started changing. At the very least, it's going to tell you where you stand in the eyes of your members. So a quick review before we're through. Credibility and competence are so important, but credibility comes first. Clarity makes it easier for others to help you, and maybe the reason why you're not getting the referrals that you're looking for. People want to help you, I think genuinely. People want to help you. People want to help you more so in BNI than elsewhere, probably because we bought into the giver's gain concept. So people want to help you, and just because you're not getting referrals doesn't mean they don't want to. It may actually have something to do with you and how clear you're communicating. And connectivity is on the radar. People are looking at this. They're judging you on it, whether you like it or not. Like people judge you on the way you speak, whether we like it or not. It's just a fact of life, and it's human nature. Make sure you get the buy-in before rolling it out into chapters, of course, if you're on the leadership team. And remember that you not only want to get your score, you want to get your score for each particular C, and then focus on the weakest one if there is one. Should we open it up for last-minute questions before I go into the close, Cindy? Is there anything in the chat box?
There's not. Wait a second. There was one. Is there a questionnaire for each of the 4 C's? A lot of interest expressed in, can we get this system, have this system rolled out, or can we get more written information? Again, is there a questionnaire available? That's the most common. Is there a questionnaire available for members to read and for them to rate you?
Yes. So basically, the questionnaire is it's not really a questionnaire. Just basically, it's a one-pager. I'll send it to you guys if you're interested. Those who are interested. And basically, what it looks like is this, but above or underneath the 4 C's assessment, it basically says that credibility. You please rate your fellow member on these following points. It'll help you guys achieve this, and go ahead and rate them 0 to 10. And then they're all folded and they're turned into the president, who then pass it on to me. But yeah, definitely happy to help you guys roll this out, and I'd love to see if this helps you guys increase your return on investment in BNI, and which is going to help with retention and going to help with many of the issues we have with BNI around the world. So I really hope. First of all, I'm very grateful that people have shown interest in this, because as a chiropractor, my first year of practice, I had the credibility, but I didn't have the perceived competence because I was so young, and most of the members in my chapter were older. So I was like, how good is this guy really? He just graduated, kind of thing. And so once I started getting some results with some of the members, my level of competence, the score went up. And I wish I could have my finger on the pulse and would have been nice to gauge it. And then clarity, of course, I was speaking just in a jargon that people didn't understand. And connectivity was probably zilcho because I didn't really understand how to increase my score. But let me move on. Cindy, we have, according to we have about 10 minutes. Is that correct?
That's right. And while you're doing that, I've put in the chat box if they want this information, the rollout or the questionnaire, and I put an email address in there. Put my email address and just put in the subject line, process please, and I'll gather all of that. Since I can't really kind of scoop everything out of Connect right now, I will
Right.
gather that up and I'll make sure that you get everything. There is another question while you're going towards the end. What are the negatives, if any, when implemented? I personally can't see any downside to it, because not only is this applicable within your BNI world or your BNI chapter, but think about how these 4 C's apply to all of the business people that you know, especially the clarity. If you're not clear when you're doing your presenting outside of BNI, how will they even know they want what you have? So I think everything you talked about is directly applicable to business, whether you're in BNI or even when you're not in BNI. But what are the negatives, if any, when
Yeah,
implemented?
sure. So some of the negatives are, it's just a lot of times members just don't want to do another thing. You know, they don't want to sit there, and so unless you get them to understand the why, they're not going to be enthusiastic about doing it. That's number one. Number two, there's going to be some work that needs to be done in terms of data collection and in terms of, you know, analyzing the scores and making sure you're accurate. So there is some work to be done. That would be the biggest negative at this point. And especially, like I said, when you get really big chapters like 144, you're going to have to look at, you know, 144 sheets of paper, and there's going to be some work that needs to be done. In the future, maybe there could be an app or something online, you know, that we could create for this. But yeah, so those would be the major negatives. All right, I'll move on. I basically want to talk to you about one way to establish credibility, and that's through storytelling. I was just reading the question here, okay? And I want to share with you, I want you to see the difference between 2 ways of speaking. This is part of my Speakology program. I was invited to speak in Johannesburg. The organizer, Debbie, opened up her $8 million home to experts to fly in around the world and speak on various subjects. And so I flew in to speak on Speakology. And she said to me, Odie, I'm a little bit embarrassed because you're here to talk about the fact that everybody has a story and that storytelling is selling. But I don't have a story. And I said, well, that's just it, Debbie. You do, but you just don't know how to uncover it. It's in you. We just got to draw it out. So I want you to look at the 2 different ways that she was presenting. So initially, she would stand up and say, hey, welcome everybody. And I'm going to try to say it with the same tone so I don't influence one or the other. But she would say, hello everybody, welcome to my home. I'm so glad you made it here today. I just want to let you guys know that I opened up my house to fly in experts all around the world because I really believe that experts help you get to where you want to go faster. And so today we have someone speaking on this subject. Please help me welcome this person, and a clap, okay? So compare that with this. So that was the first story, which was talking about her house and why she opened it up. This is the stop sign story. The stop sign story is basically the reason she opened up her house to fly-in experts was she was working at a bank, hated her job, was at a stop sign, and then was held at gunpoint. A guy basically stuck his gun out the window, said, open your door, and he wanted to rob her and take her car. Didn't realize there was a dog in the back seat. The dog attacked him. He didn't know who to shoot, the dog or her. Shot the door. It ricocheted off the door and shot her in the leg. And I know you might be thinking what I'm thinking. I was like, Debbie, how do you forget something like that? Like, you talk about not having a story. So she then went to the hospital, and while she was laying in the hospital, she realized that, you know what? I want to live my dream. Like, I want to do it now. What am I waiting for? I could have died right there, and my dream would have died with me. And that's when she opened her house. So imagine now she starts her presentation with that, you know, hello everybody, I want to welcome you here. This year I was at a stop sign, and this is what happened, and my life changed, and that's why I decided to open my home up to people, to fly-in experts, to help your dream and my dream come true. So storytelling is I believe an underutilized weapon in the BNI world when it comes to establishing credibility with people, because it tells people why you do what you do. It helps them understand the person behind the business, and it's a beautiful way to increase your credibility score. I really, in BNI, we talk about the 3+1 in terms of growing chapters around the world. But I think storytelling is an underutilized thing. It's a very powerful way in your 60 seconds, in your one-to-one, or your up to 60 seconds, in your one-to-ones, in your feature presentations. You want to drop in a story because that could be the game changer for you. Just want to end with this. Cindy, you may have already done this, but I just want to let, if there's anyone that, I wasn't sure if this would be opened up to people that are not in the BNI world. But yeah, if you want to go to BNI and find a chapter in your area, bni.com. Of course, Cindy, this is your website. And if you have any information or any questions or information you need from me, like we said, feel free to just email Cindy or myself. And I want to end with my favorite 2 words, and that's thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Odie. I'm going to just wrap it up. All of the information, everything that he has given to us, everything that he's provided is, like I said, certainly applicable to us as business owners. And whether we're in BNI or not in BNI, take that information, the 4 C's of VCP, and apply it to everything you do to grow your business. So your thought for the week: we would rather align ourselves with an average performer we can trust over a top performer we cannot trust. Thank you very much for being on our call. A lot of information, a lot of thank yous coming through in the private chat. A lot of people have said yes on the 4 C's assessment and the questionnaire, and we will certainly get that back to you. Either one of us, just let us know that it's there. I did include the email on the chat box. For those that are on the call today, we will be carrying a theme forward for each month on a webinar call. We have guests from the US. We will have guest speakers from across Canada. And certainly if you have a topic that you feel would be something you'd like to roll out, just like Dr. Odie did, please get in touch with me, and we will make that happen in 2019. Look forward to working with you some more, Dr. Odie. This was great. Thank you.
Me too, and I just realized I had my camera off the entire time. So
well, that probably worked out well. That probably worked out for bandwidth. I've got a lot of thank yous coming in from people who don't have microphones or speakers on their computers. Everyone, lots of gratitude flowing your way. So thank you very much, everyone. And we will see you on... Yeah, BNI starts now. Exactly. It's Monday morning Ontario time. It's 9 a.m. And I'm going to rush off to our next conference call, get to Toronto for that. Thank you so much. Look forward to serving you.
Bye-bye.